Well, we'll go and get started. Well, good evening again, everyone, for being with us and joining us for our webinar that's going to discuss emergency preparedness and prevention, specifically in the food kitchen environment of your fraternity, sorority, multifamily housing that you are involved in. And just a few things here. We'll cover a few housekeeping items. So again, if you have any questions, you can feel free to submit them through the Q&A function there at the bottom of your Zoom. And as well as you can also email either info@alphafraternitymgmt.com or info@campuscooks. Both Alpha Fraternity and Campus Cooks are doing this jointly, so it's great to do this together. We have we have a home that uses their services, and so this is great to be able to share their knowledge with a variety of our current clients and customers. So again, feel free to email us at the end or anytime or through the chat. So to kind of begin, I'm Bill Horner with Alpha Fraternity Management here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm the operations manager. So I oversee 20 some homes of our business at a variety of campuses, and I cover a variety of items, everything from maintenance, repair, member services, accounting, financial, alumni relations. So I do a variety of items for those homes that I oversee, as well as Alpha is on multiple campuses throughout the Midwest and the East, and continue to grow all the time. And we're able to do fraternity sororities as well, and just offer up, again, those items that are important for a successful home, that alumni or owners are looking for that kind of support from operations, such as kitchen and food, all the way to financials and member services. And my co-host is Will. Go ahead, Will, I'll let you talk for a moment.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. My name is Will Wolf. I'm the Director of Field Operations for Campus Cooks. We provide kitchen management services for fraternities and sororities, and as you can see on the slide, we're located across 55 campuses, nearly 30 states. And we have all the resources you need in the kitchen and expertise to hit your needs or exceed your expectations. Been doing it for 14, 15 years, all over the country, coast to coast. So that's where we're at. That's
great. That's great. Thanks, Will. So tonight we're going to kind of focus on specifically emergencies and planning for those and some preparedness. And obviously one of the big questions is, what is an emergency? You have the health and safety urgent emergencies, where you might have an injury in the kitchen. Will was just telling that he didn't prepare to cook anything, but he could show us how to bandage a cut hand. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but unfortunately those things do, of course, but we try to mitigate those. But you'd call 911, with Campus Cooks, their chef would be prepared for those issues. Here at Alpha, we have facility managers that cook or chef would be able to have that relationship with the facility manager, and they would help them through different emergencies, whether it is a 911 or even a non-911, we're able to help with that. I think following protocol is important in terms of who would you contact. The no heat, blood, dripping water. I'm sure, Will, even in your case, they would either contact maybe the management company or you, and then you have your specific protocols on what would happen.
Absolutely.
Because not everyone has a house mom or a resident advisor. So again, it's important that whoever you have in your home knows who they need to contact. That chef or that sous chef knows who they need to contact within that home, or who the agent is for that home. And again, with Alpha, we have designated facility managers, which I think really streamlines the communication, which I'm sure someone like Will and his employees, colleagues value a lot to help speed up an emergency or a repair to get the food up and running to help mitigate costs. And unhappy guys and gals, 'cause when they're hungry, they want fed.
That's the goal.
Of course, the new emergency is COVID-19. We've all been dealing with that. Next month will be a year. And I think initially a lot of things happen very quickly. But I know on the Alpha side, I'm sure also on the Campus Cooks, a lot of different protocols have been put in place and that are almost probably second nature now. And whether it's a face mask wearing, extra hand washing, hand stations in the kitchens, dining rooms, I'm sure all part of theirs, as it is with our homes as well, that any home that has a kitchen or especially someone's cooking, preparing, those things are second nature. And everyone knows what they are. You know, I've seen Campus Cooks policies. They've gotten those things out to the students, to the owners, to the agents. Is that right? I'm sure, Will, you guys are always updating. Yeah, to definitely have a COVID plan, both for the kitchen and for the home as a whole. As I know Alpha put together a lot of them and have spearheaded a lot early in the early spring of 2020, and will continue to do that if necessary. So that way everyone has a transparency of what can be done. You know, what's different now? Again, I just mentioned a little bit having a written plan. Have you communicated that? Again, Campus Cook, I know, has and has sent those out at different times. And same with our homes, our chapters and alumni groups with our support. We help distribute that to our house members. So if you don't have an agent or someone that's running your home, that falls on you to make sure that's communicated, and that can be a daunting task. And where again, folks like Campus Cooks already have those resources and have those links and have protocols in place. So that's why I think it's ideal to have a good partnership with vendors like them or ourselves at Alpha here that can help navigate those emergencies. The best solution to be prepared and avoid an emergency. It's always good to be prepared before something happens. I'm just like, you never ask a question unless you already know the answer. You might not like the answer, kind of like with emergency. So the first thing I think is that, yes, a lot of people think of, but young guys and gals, students of multifamily housing may not think of the financial. They're just thinking of what is Will and his chefs going to prepare for them. You know, is it going to be eggs Benedict or just a cold muffin? But it costs money to do that. So financial is truly can be a silent emergency. And I know here at Alpha, we help the chapters set a budget at the beginning of the semester. And we continue to modify that throughout the year if it's on the current meal plan. I know that I'm sure Will gets this all the time with his chefs or his local colleagues. So-and-so is dropped down to the meal plan, or we want to add someone to the meal plan. And I know it's important that, I'm sure they don't like hearing that, but it's important that you communicate that to them. So there's no waste of food, and more importantly, no waste of your money. You don't want to be paying for 2 or 3 meals if those students didn't pay or they decided to not move in, and vice versa. I know this semester at a lot of our houses, being that housing has been very fluid at the campuses I manage, we've actually had an increase in meal plan numbers, and had to communicate the chapter as well as support of myself. I've communicated to folks like Will, hey, I've added 3 guys to the meal plan effective such and such day, type of scenario. So that's important. I think it's also important to plan for the next year. Really, probably will agree with me. Probably now is the time for that chapter to be deciding what type of meal plan they want and what is it going to cost, and make that financial decision.
Absolutely. We have pricing out already. So
right, and that's great to hear.
Next year is, they just pick
Perfect.
up the phone and our account manager emails them the pricing for next year so they can budget.
Right. And I have homes, right? I have a new home that might be looking at meal plans. So I'm already discussing with them what's involved with that. And then I have my existing clients that I'm already saying, hey, you guys got to think, do you want the same or do you want something different? You know, I'll help vet them. I'll help vet new clients or new vendors, or help the discussion with their current vendor, whether it's Campus Cook, like I said, I have at one of our homes, or someone else. Now's the time, because you got to budget that out and get agreements signed, which Alpha will help coordinate that for the chapter. You as a homeowner or alumni core wouldn't have to worry about that. We will do all that admin. And I think finally, the big part is the reconciliation to kind of tie that all together here at Alpha, that if your house is on a meal plan, we do a reconciliation both at the end of the semester to end of the year. We reconcile all the meal income that's come in minus all the meal receipts. If for some reason the house has been charged too much, then everyone receives an appropriate credit back to their account, and vice versa. If they've spent too much because they wanted too many eggs Benedict, as you can see, there's a theme. I want eggs Benedict, Will. Then that charge is spread out to all the folks at the end of the semester and end of the year to help mitigate you, the alumni, or the chapter's expense, which I'm sure again Will really appreciates. So that keeps their AR and their uncollected monies to a minimum. And we have a very big success rate with that I can honestly say that all the homes that have a meal program that Alpha helps manage the financial end of it, the vendors are paid timely and without issues or problems, or we have that relationship. Will could call me or email me and ask, hey, what's the situation? Any other thoughts on that, Will, on the financial part? Because I know.
No, that's the best part. Like you said, the best thing to do is to have a great relationship with your vendor and have open communication. Especially this year, numbers go up and down every month.
Yes.
Our account managers are adjusting them to keep you current so that we don't have to. And in the event of a giant emergency like last year with COVID, we issued over $1 million in refunds.
Wow.
It drew everyone up as well. So it's a partnership.
Yes. Yes.
You don't want to come down to the very end of the year and go, oh, well, we were only feeding so many people, because by that time, money's spent and allocated, so.
That's good to hear that you guys were accommodating like that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
It was a big price to pay, but obviously I think long-term positive dividends, because chapters and alumni leaders or folks who make the meal decisions will remember that, definitely. Dues and collection, again, I already touched upon that, but Alpha provides those types of services that we have the guys, I keep saying guys, I apologize, but house members sign meal agreements. We charge them on a monthly basis. That way money's coming in monthly. So when the invoice for Campus Cook, because they offer different, I know the house we have is a monthly payment plan. We have the money paid up front 1 month in advance. So when that invoice comes from their accounting department, we have the funds to pay them in a timely manner. And I don't think that happens in homes that don't have that kind of planning, and it provides that steady in stream. So if there is a group of house members who didn't pay, you have maybe a little cushion financially to cover the needed invoices, or be able to have, like Will said, that communication, say, hey, we need an extra week, but we're good for it because this is what we've been able to pay. And of course, collecting the funds, as I mentioned, if someone isn't paying, we'll help with that. We'll partner with the chapter. We'll partner with the alumni if they are involved in the meal program to get that corrected. And again, I'm sure a vendor like Campus Cooks really appreciates that it's not just pass the hat or send it through Venmo or Google Pay or one of those other non-personal situations. And if you have a house, I think that Will can probably touch upon some of these things because they are about some of the different inspections. But I mentioned earlier that we have facility managers. So our guys and gals who are facility manager colleagues, they know the city codes. I know the city codes enough that if I know I have a new client that wants to have a meal program, I know what they can and can't do to help find the right vendor. Not every home, unfortunately, I'm sure Will knows, can have a chef in.
Would be
Um,
nice.
yeah, it's a big expense, but if you are able to have one, it's a great feature. Guys, I mean, house members are willing to pay for that, but it does take a financial commitment. But do you know your city inspections? Because again, I'm sure Will could spend a whole 8 hours talking about different towns, different college towns that have different codes. Is that a true statement, Will?
Yeah, every town. Oh,
Right,
and
right.
they change yearly.
Right. In some towns, like here in Washtenaw County, if you want to cater, you have to basically have a commercial license to cater out of that house to another home. Just to carry something across the street is illegal, you know. Um, but in other towns, it might not be as strict. But every town has some type of certification, which goes into the second point here on stay up to date on your preventive maintenance, cleaning the hoods, grease traps, Ansel systems. Again, I'm sure campus cooks value an agent, a company like Alpha, who we have those things built in every single year. My facility managers deal with certain vendors that take care of those things. And you as a homeowner or alumni core, you don't have to worry about that. It's taken care of. Or again, if it needs to be updated, if there is an issue, again, Will and his colleagues text, get on the phone, say, hey, you know what, I think we have an issue. Boom, because usually that does fall on the house to repair most of those equipment that campus cooks wouldn't have purchased. Maintain your house and plan for renovations. There's things, whether it's a bathroom, you got to find a financial plan. Right now, I have a home that has a catered in meal for 2 years. Their chapter is growing, and they have a kitchen, but hasn't been used in 5+ years, probably more like 7 to 10 years. So they've been planning this financially for 2 years now to hopefully get that kitchen up to par, so that a vendor like Campus Cooks could come in and actually have an in-house chef. Again, Alpha can help that with a partnership of the vendor like Campus Cooks and get their insight. Hey, what would work best? What type of stove, or do we have to have a dishwasher? Can we do a 3-part sink? Can we have the refrigerator out here in the night kitchen, but locked up during the night? There's all those different things to be thinking about. So again, having someone else doing that work for you is really important. So kitchen emergencies. I'm going to turn this over a little more to Will, as some of this stuff hits more in his wheelhouse.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yep.
So, I mean, we can slide right into what we were just talking about, professional cleaning and servicing of hoods, Ansel systems. That should be scheduled regularly. And if you have someone who's handling that, like Alpha Fraternity Management, it works really well, because we go in there monthly, we check the date, and we say, hey, your hood needs to be cleaned next month. It's going to expire in 2 months, 1 month. It's got to be clean this month. Those sorts of things. But having a one-stop shop makes it very easy to work with. And those things are really important. Keep it 100% up to date and keeping it safe, because you just never know. Accidents happen, and emergencies and accidents are kind of hand in hand. Nobody plans to have a fire or a slip or something like that. And at the same point, the same thing to do is to have your safety data sheets caught up. So OSHA out there, big deal, right? They're in charge of making sure that workers stay safe all over the country. They're also a self-funded organization, so they get paid by doing inspections and then levying fines. So the easiest way to avoid all of that and not have a financial emergency from an OSHA fine is to make sure that your safety data sheets are all caught up. Those used to be called material safety data sheets. Now they're just called safety data sheets across the board, and you should have them on hand. Our policy, we have a red binder in every kitchen that's signed off twice a year and is kept up to date with OSHA inspection that we have in the front that we self-audit, and you could go in there and flip it. So those are important for multiple things. Somebody accidentally splashes a cleaner in their eye or something, which is absolutely horrible to think that it would happen. but having that safety data sheet right there on a binder that you can find, oh, don't flush that with water. You need to just, you need to use milk, or you need to use whatever, and call 911. The other parts are kitchen PPE, right? Now, everywhere you talk about PPE, it's synonymous with a mask, but there's more to that than a kitchen. You want to make sure that we have masks and gloves, obviously, especially in the COVID era, sorry. But also other things like cutting gloves to keep your hands safe, so that when you're using a slicer, you don't, you keep all 5 on the hand that was slicing the product. And non-slip shoes. Slips and falls are probably the most common accident. You'd think it would be burns, but it's actually slips and falls. And then this next piece here, the slide that just popped up, that's an example of a safety data sheet. So it's very quick and easy. It says what to do. If you get it on your skin, wash it with plenty of water, call a poison center, avoid breathing fumes, so wear a mask. It's all there, right? And even down at the bottom, there's little warnings, do not mix with bleach because it'll cause chlorine gas. And that would be an emergency. They would probably have to have the house cleared out and the fire department called. So you want to avoid those sorts of situations. If you want to go to the next slide. The other part is really keeping storage safe. So you want to have proper storage, and there's a couple things that proper dry storage helps you with. One, if it's clean, it's organized, and you can see it, you know what you have on hand, so you're not wasting money purchasing product, or you're not wasting money with product expiring because you can inventory and see it. The other part is stocking it properly so that you have those avoidable accidents avoided. So you don't put your heavy items up top. You put your tortillas on the top shelf, and you put your 50-pound bag of flour on the bottom shelf, so that somebody isn't dropping a 50-pound bag of flour or wrenching their back while they're doing something. And then keeping the proper spacing off the ground. It keeps it safe. Every health department, you have your bare minimums, 6 inches off the ground, but some local standards want it higher, and that helps keep pests, rodents away from the food if for some reason they happen to be there. Right now, it's the middle of winter. You could have the cleanest kitchen in the world, but if you leave the back door open a little bit too long, there's some really cold and hungry critters out there. So if you have your storage set up right, they can't get to it. You mitigate the emergency of maybe having a cross-contamination or having to lose product because unwanted guests have gotten into your storage.
Also want to sorry, Will. I wanted to also share, like, with some of these things, like the storage and mitigating unwanted renters, 2 and 4-legged items. With Alpha and our facility managers, those colleagues know some of those basic policies and basic codes, because in many towns there are either yearly or every 30-month type of city inspections. So these things are kind of drilled into them. And again, we're talking about partnerships. Someone like Campus Cooks knows that facility manager will also, whenever they're not, when Will and his colleagues aren't there, that we would also making sure that the dry food storage maybe is locked, or that there isn't any food sitting on the floor because a guy, or a house member got hungry for some nachos and left all the nachos on the floor, or whatever the case might be. So I think, again, that's important that we built that into our monthly inspections, as well as even when we visit on bi-weekly, to ensure that a door's not propped open. Many kitchens have exits or emergency doors, and they like to prop doors open and make sure that those are closed, and that again, that the Campus Cooks and vendor has that partnership, that when they're not there, someone else is looking out for the assets there in the kitchen.
And then the only other piece in dry storage is there is a certain amount of space on the top shelf from the ceiling down, and that also helps with situations where if there happens to be a fire or something, there's a gap and keeps your facility safe. So like you said, you have your monthly inspections. We have a monthly 7 keys that we share with our clients that has pictures of our storage, the kitchen, food, everything. And so having that communication going back and forth and being able to be rest assured, if you're a volunteer and you live in California and your chapter was in New York, you can still see what's going on virtually at least once a month, with pictures and a story coming from our account managers.
Good. Emergency meal plans.
This is huge. All right.
Yeah.
We just had, if you live in New Jersey, just to keep on the East Coast, just had 2 feet of snow. right?
Jeez.
And so there are chefs that may not have been able to make it in, and you can't just pick up the phone and say, hey, pizza company, come deliver, because there's 2 feet of snow on the ground. So you really want to always have a plan for those emergencies. You want to have an emergency meal plan in place that's easy to cook if there's no staff. So for us, you have a house and we staff it according to the size of the house and the financial needs of the house, right? And you may have a cook that can't come in. We have an emergency meal that's set up so that no one misses a meal. And it's something very simple that, homemade frozen lasagnas that we've wrapped up and put in the refrigerator or the freezer, and there's directions on it. You just pop it in the oven, take it out an hour later. The men or the women in the house have food, have a box that has paper plates, forks, knives, hot pads in it so that you can take it in and out. All the stuff that in an emergency, we're like, oh my goodness, nobody's going to eat. You make it simple and easy. So they just go to the emergency box, they go to the emergency meal, the directions are on it, unwrap it, cook it. It's important to have that. Other times, sometimes you have to use that emergency meal plan because trucks don't show up because, again, 2 feet of snow, or you're unable to cook. And then in that case, you're going to have a slightly different emergency there, because if you don't have any gas, you don't have any electricity, you don't have an emergency meal, then generally we're going to have a list of local restaurants or somebody that you can cater and call,
So Will, like with those emergency meals, is that something that your chefs prepare for, or every house that you have, there's at least a emergency meal like the cooked lasagna or type of situation already there in the freezer ready to go? Is that how that's done?
So we come in a week prior to service at the beginning of the fall and winter, and during that week they prepare that emergency meal. So it's there. So even if day one the chef couldn't come in for some reason, and we walk through whoever's in the house, it's very important. If it's a house director, we're going to walk them through, hey, this is how you turn on the stove, this is how you do this. If it's a student leader, because you don't have a house director or you don't have a facility manager there, we're going to walk them through so that they hopefully remember in the face of that. And then it's rotated through. So we don't just make it in August, hope we never use it, and toss it out in May. Every 30 days, we rotate through.
Got it.
Another
Okay.
one. And
That's
it's the same one house to house to house on a campus. So if there's multiple houses, we can support, even if it happens to be chapter night, we can run to a couple of houses, grab the emergency meal plans, and still be able to feed a chapter on the event that something goes out. So you want to think through all of those as best you can. And then last ditch, you're going to use the local restaurant.
Sorry.
You want to avoid that though, because that's a financial issue. It costs us, anything we do, we can do at about 30% of the price as if you were to cater it.
Right. Do you pass that cost on to the house? How do you, if it's something that's unfortunately caused by campus cooks or that colleague, that's just a cost, unfortunately, it goes into business.
And it costs us.
Right.
And generally we work that into the budget. We're not going to have any meals. I mean, we're not going to cater from a restaurant from August to May, right? Unless that's the plan you guys have, and we'll coordinate. But we work that all out. That's not an increase. It's not a surcharge. It's part of hiring a vendor whose job is to manage the kitchen for you. So that's the skill of the kitchen management piece right there. So
I think it's really very, very important that I've dealt with some that may not be quite as planned out like that. So speaking of emergency meal plans, there you go.
That's the form we use. It's very simple, where it is, how do you cook it. This is posted up in the kitchen. It's also on the meal itself. And a copy is kept online for us internally. So if for some reason you can't get a hold of the chef, you call the district manager, they can walk you through how to do it. And if you can't get a hold of the district manager, account manager, myself can go online and I can walk you through exactly what you're doing. It'll say in there, for some houses, they've requested they want chicken tenders because it's an easy meal for a lunch emergency. Okay, there's a case of frozen chicken tenders, bottom right-hand corner of the freezer. Pull it out, put it on the pan, get it done. So
you're making me hungry.
Yeah, well, it is that time of day.
I should have an emergency meal in my own refrigerator, my own freezer. I probably would use it every day, though. That's the problem.
You would think.
Uh,
Um, Other things. What is a kitchen emergency, right? So when do you close the kitchen? We talked about health regulations, safety regulations. We always work to the lowest common denominator. So pretty much, if there's no water in your kitchen, you can't keep anything sanitary, so you're not going to have food service. You have to close your kitchen. You're going to have to cater. That's just what it is. If there's a sewage backup in the kitchen, you're closing your kitchen because you don't want food that comes out of a kitchen that has a sewage backup. If there's a gas leak, you're probably closing the house, calling 911, and waiting until the fire department takes care of it, right? Because you want to really ensure that things are safe. So some of those are important. A gas leak, smell of gas, that's a danger to the entire house. Sewage backup, you're going to close the kitchen, call the facility management company if you're with somebody like Fraternity management, and
Yep.
you're going to get that taken care of.
We would do all three of those. Just be a matter of a phone call. If it's during, if the chef's on site, then he or she's probably calling the facility manager and getting things rolling if we're not already aware of the problem. And yes, we would kind of take it from there, as we would have our own vendors, or again, with gas, it would be, DTE or, Edison, things to that nature. So absolutely, Will's correct that we take that off. It wouldn't be, Will or his chef wouldn't be calling you, the alumni or house owner. And like you said, you're in California, you're someplace else. Oh, great. I'll have to come home, or I'm at work. I'll be there this evening to take care of that sewage backup. No, we've got vendors. We take care of that, because it could be a bigger issue that, again, we're equipped to do that, whether it's just a rotor-rooter issue, or whether it's replacing the pipe from the house to the street. We can do that and coordinate that all and keep you, the alumni or house core owners, up to date, in the loop, transparent of what's going on. So again, on the meal side, we can get things up and running with that meal program.
And then the other piece, what is a kitchen emergency? No staffing. We talked about that with emergency meal plans. With a good vendor that you have, if it's going to be an extended absence. I mean, currently we have COVID. Someone tests positive. It's a minimum of 10 days that they're going to be out of the kitchen. A vendor will have a backup plan. If you don't happen to have a vendor in the kitchen, then you're going to want to have some sort of a backup plan, because that gets to be fairly pricey. If you're lucky enough to have a house director in the house that is willing to make grilled cheese and soup and those sorts of things, or there happen to be a great chef and they just pick up the mantle and keep on going, that's awesome. But if you have a service, they'll take care of that, right? We have chefs that are there. We have district chefs in each area that can float around and fill in for absences, do extra training, those sorts of things. So you have layers of support. The other piece, go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, I'm sure this has happened to some of our listeners, as well as some of your clients. So how has Campus Cooks handled the quarantine? So a home, a chapter house, sorority, whatever the case might be, unfortunately has to be quarantined, whether the universities encourage it, the county health, whatever. And there's a meal program being done by, Campus Cooks. What's happening for those 14 days? How's meals being done?
Still serving. So we have protocol set in place. Our communicable disease protocol, when this hit, actually matched everything that the CDC and local areas recommend. So we close the kitchen off. No one has access except for the chef, and everything is put out in the dining room in disposable single-use containers. So for those 10 or 12 days, the chef will make the food, box each meal up individually, put it out in the dining room for you, close the kitchen back up, go back in. So there's no contact with anyone. And then everyone comes down, picks up their meal, takes it to their apartment. Or if the house has a quarantine floor or rooms, we let the house deal with that part.
Right.
But we keep it there and we have it on a piece of paper. This is a protocol we're following. This is why. And we post it up in multiple places in the house, dining room, by the kitchen, so that everybody knows what's going on and knows that this isn't a permanent thing. We also enact that for the first 2 weeks we come back from any break. So an extended Christmas break, or if there were schools that are lucky enough to have spring break, the 2 weeks coming back will sit in that infectious disease protocol just to break anything that may happen. And then all of our other protocols match federal, state, local, and university policy. So a lot of it is the chefs actually dishing the food up, as opposed to buffets are a thing of the past for this year, right? But we can still have plates, single-use items, nice sturdy paper plates, disposable plates, and then go through the line. Chef dishes it up, hands it off down at the end. There's no contact. Everyone's got a mask. Everyone has gloves. You know, the students are wearing masks, etc. So that's how we keep it.
That's good to know, because
but we don't just stop and run away. It's not like the Middle Ages where it's unclean and you run away. We have a protocol and we can keep serving.
I think that's good to know, again, for our listeners to know that who may not have a meal vendor or have a vendor that isn't doing that, that they need to reach out to Campus Cooks, that you guys, you all would be able to hook them up properly. And that's good information, because that's obviously still happening. I've had that happening right now, and I thought it was over. I'm naive, I'm sorry, but still having homes that are quarantining and for different reasons. And so that's good to know that the meal plan continues.
Absolutely. And then the other piece is staff injuries.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
The last piece there. And that's important. I mean, you can mitigate those, again, non-slip shoes, cut gloves, sharp knives. Very important to have sharp knives, not dull knives, because it helps keep from cuts. Hot pads. Don't use the gloves if you can avoid it. You want to use a hot pad. You never know what's inside those mitts. So you have the potential of having a dirty mitt, somebody put their hand in and you have cross-contamination, but also they generate holes and you could end up burning staff. So we highly recommend that you use hot pads like you would at home. And if there's a staff injury, to take care of it, right? To assess it and to go through and talk through it. So with us, you would give us a call. We would let you know what was going on. Make sure always that the staff is safe. If it's a serious enough cut that it's going to require a doctor's treatment or something, find a way to make sure that you don't just wrap it up in a towel and send that chef in their car to the emergency room, that somebody transports them or helps them, because you never know how they're going to react to loss of blood or something like that, and the stress of having to drive, etc. Or you call 911 if it's serious enough, obviously. So you want to keep an eye on those, and those right there will really, most of them are little tiny cuts and it's not a big deal. It's Band-Aids, a well-stocked first aid kit takes care of it. But when it goes beyond that, you want to make sure that you're taking care of them so that you can have people coming back to cook for you.
Right.
All right, you can go on to the next slide.
Go ahead.
And that would be it there. So questions?
Yep. I know we answered some, but if we have anyone, and whatever it is, whether it's emergency or other just general meal, or how a management company can partner with a meal vendor like Campus Cooks, we can help with that. Are you seeing a trend, Will, of do you do catering as well to homes, or do you have a chef in every one of your homes?
This year, we have had to do some catering. We've worked together to really support the Greek community. And there have been a couple campuses where we're cooking out of 1 or 2 central locations because everybody's numbers dropped so dramatically that it would be cost prohibitive to have a private chef in the home. To pass that on, if you only have 10 men or women and living in the house.
Right.
So we're helping support those and bringing whole campuses together and saying, hey, these are the 2 houses with the best kitchens.
Okay.
And we're catering too. But in general, we really work a lot, try to avoid the catering situation, because that's not what brings brotherhood and sisterhood. You know, having a really nice meal when you don't have COVID, everybody sitting down around the table together. That's what it's all about. And so we want to make sure that we're fostering that and we try to avoid the catering if at all possible, but we do have ways to do it, and we can do it if need be. So.
Sure. Say someone raised their hand there. Mark, let me see if I can allow to talk there. Go ahead, Mark, if you have a question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you do special events like mom weekend, dad weekend, something that would, with proper notice, can you do
Yeah.
those kind of things? Okay.
Absolutely. We do that all the time. Even, everything has to be a little bit different and has to be handled the right way because of some of the restrictions with COVID currently.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely, we do that. And one of the advantages of someone like Campus Cooks like us is we do it at cost.
Great.
Oh, wow. That's great to know.
Whatever it costs us for the raw material and the labor, that's what you get charged.
Wow.
Great.
Yeah. So absolutely we can. It's working with a chef, working with a district manager and figuring out what the restrictions are and then working within it.
That's a good.
Will, do you know what the lead time would be for something like that, you think?
Usually 2 weeks is what we ask because you want to be able to plan a good menu and you want to be able to have the ordering in time, right? But that's generally what
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question, Mark. Thanks. Yeah, and I like that's a great idea too. That I think that when you have a chef, you can do those things, and have a little more flexibility where the catering may not be. But when you have a chef, you could talk to he or she, work out a menu that fits your budget. Maybe, if it's something that's more fun or lighthearted, then, that chef can maybe work on that budget. If it's something a little bit fancier, like a mom or dad weekend or an alumni donation, philanthropic type activity that the chapter is sponsoring for their alumni to drive up funds. Again, you could potentially, obviously, you can work with that type of budget and come up with a menu that works. Do you offer, Will, with like the students and their meal needs, do you do apps or flexible menus and things to that nature?
So absolutely, we have an app. We were the first one to have an app actually out of all the vendors, and we continue to improve it as we learn. But we have on the app, you just enter in your dietary preferences. So I can't have gluten or I'm gluten intolerant, or if I have gluten, I need an EpiPen, whatever the severity is. And we match and meet those dietary preferences every meal for every student.
Great.
And then you can also say, I just don't like onions. Can I get tonight's meal without onions? And if we're serving it, we just don't serve it with onions. Or if we're boxing it up because you're under COVID protocol, we just don't put onions and we put your name on the box.
So your app does that if they are quarantining or not able to participate, and it could be a non-quarantine. It could just be a class or something that's going on.
Yeah,
they're able to go in that app and say, "Hey, I need my meal to go," kind of concept.
Yeah, as long as it's an hour before service.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cutoff time for the app because the chef has to have time to increase numbers.
Sure.
But we have late plates, and absolutely, we'll put them in a student fridge. We have one student at one of our chapters who always gets his lunch and dinner, but he leaves at 8 in the morning and doesn't get back till about 6:30 or 7. So at 7 o'clock at night, he picks up both his lunch and dinner from the day out of the student fridge, takes it up to his room, and next day grabs the next two.
That's right.
So
that's great, because I'm sure that's really helped cut down on food waste as well, or unused food being left around, that you're able to have some of those meals prepared and things to that nature.
And that's the other advantage of having a service. So if you have your own private chef, you're going to have a chef in there, and then they're going to have a budget, and it's all going to get passed on. With us, with like Campus Cooks, you just pay, this is it, and you don't worry. If we have waste, that's on us. That's extra money that we spent that we couldn't, but you also don't have a drive to save. So we tell all our chefs, you need to spend 100% of the budget that we give you. There's no bonus for not spending your budget, because good service and good food is what keeps us coming back. So spend it all, but we don't charge you. If that chef goes over budget, that's on us. And we don't let them come under budget. That's the district manager's job to make sure and go, hey, let's spend this money, make sure that the house gets what they paid for.
Absolutely.
That's an advantage to having a service, is set pricing.
Right. I know I have a house that Sunday night, they have the entire chapter. They prepare a meal for the entire chapter, outside house, out of house members and in-house members. So again, another flexibility, having a Campus Cook vendor to accommodate those those types of needs, and maybe even they do a unique billing where there's a bill for that particular meal versus the regular kind of preset contract that you already have, because that's more of a chapter thing. So that's billed to the chapter, and flexible features and menu options, again, depending on how many members you have at that type of meal.
Absolutely. And then there was another question in there. It said, what about food allergies in the chat? We handle those the same as dietary preferences. So if you have an allergy, we make sure that you get the food that doesn't have peanuts or doesn't have shellfish or doesn't have whatever it is. And we have that, and a chef has a list, and they make those separately. So those meals are made separate from the main meal so that there's no cross-contamination. If there's a severe enough allergy, say to nuts, then we just don't bring nuts into the kitchen. And we eliminate that entire problem. So, and find other ways to handle it. So you still get your pesto, but no pine nuts. We might use sunflower seeds instead, or just not have a nut component, use a breadcrumb or something to make it allergy friendly. So there's ways to work around all of those things, as well as vegan and pescatarian and keto, and we can hit it all.
Okay, there it is, Fujak. Great. Sorry if I missed that. Good. Any other general questions or specific questions? But keep in mind that this will be saved and will be available for future use on, I know on our website, and I'm sure Campus Cooks as well will have access to it. Or again, feel free to email us. What was your email address? What's the best email address, Will, for any general information? Is it info@campuscooks?
Yeah, that's what was on the slide.
Okay, .com. Great. And then with Alpha, it's info@alphafraternitymgmt.com. Terrific.
Or you can just go to our website.
Yep.
Campus Cooks, and there's a contact us section.
Same here. Absolutely. Great. Well, thanks again, Will, for taking time, sharing your knowledge about Campus Cooks and what you do in your homes and what you can offer and provide, specifically with emergencies and being prepared in different scenarios that I think people don't always think about. And
thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Well, appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for taking time here this evening, for listening and participating. And we hope you all have a great evening and a great rest of the week. Thank you.